Isaiah and I, we are interviewing John Anthony of the band 54 Ultra. This is a band that's really small, but I think has the potential to be very big. I really like their music and what they're putting out. And John Anthony, at least in my head, he's the brain behind it. So thank you, John Anthony, for coming on the show.
Of course, it's a pleasure to have me. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Yeah, how long have you been making music?
Um, it'll be a year in like 4 days, I think.
Oh, so you got it down to the day.
Yeah, it was beginning of June, first week of June. So what? Today's the second. I would say honestly, it'd be a year Saturday, I believe.
Huh,
You've only
okay.
been doing this for a year?
Yeah, just about.
Well, it doesn't sound like it. Like your music's definitely sounds like maybe you just have that natural kind of sense for music, but it sounds really good for, I want to say it like that, but for a year, that's amazing.
Of
I would
course,
think
I
you've been doing this
honestly.
for much longer time.
No, you're good. See what you gonna say.
So, one thing that is different about you, I think, is your sound. And that's the reason I want to talk to you mostly, because your sound, it's extremely retro, I feel. And I love it. Can you tell me about your influences there?
I'm glad that you love it. Honestly, I don't think I have a sound. I just because in my perspective, I know what I like. I know my influences in my head, but I forget that not everybody sees it the way that I do. But I'd say it's a lot of Michael Jackson in rotation.
Okay, I can see that.
A lot of Michael Jackson. A little bit of Prince mostly, but it's my main influences mostly have to be like Fleetwood Mac, Michael Jackson for sure, in the sake of like songwriting and structure, and Prince to an extent. And it just changes all the time. It depends on the song itself, really. I know like where to pull from, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, a lot of the one I think of mainly, my favorite one is Should I Let This Go? That's my
Oh
favorite
yeah.
one of yours. And
Thank you so much.
but there are other songs though that have a completely different sound.
Yeah, I like I said, I just started, so it took me a lot of people when they start making music and they're trying to find their identity. No one really posts it, I guess, or like they do it in secret, and then you see the like when they present themselves, you see the final version of it. But I didn't feel like doing that. I was just like, yeah, because I didn't know what was gonna stick for me, like what felt the most comfy. So I tried to embody the sound,
Hmm.
and what sticks is what's gonna stick.
Yeah. So you said you started almost a year ago, right?
Yeah.
That means you started during the pandemic, which I think is really interesting. So can
Yeah.
you tell me about how it has been starting up music during
Uh,
a time where music is not really much of a thing, live music?
well, there's a bit of a background to that. There's I used to be a producer, so I didn't start writing songs until last year, but I used to make beats and such. I was like just a like throughout high school, I made just little rap beats and stuff, and I got kind of far with that to the point where I got involved in a lot of studio work, and I went to school to be an engineer. And so I've always been around music per se, but not much of my own self, just more trying to see like, okay, how do I? Because I want to be an engineer. I always thought myself as an behind the scenes guy, and then I just got fed up with it and wanted to start writing songs. And it definitely, with the pandemic, you could say that for everybody. It's basically like an incubator for people where you're just locked in your room all day and everyone's doing the same thing, which didn't make it feel as bad, where everybody's stuck at the same time. And it was a product of the pandemic, I'd say. I wouldn't, if it didn't happen, I probably wouldn't be doing it, to be honest.
Amazing. So a lot of it,
Kind of
it's
scary, I'd say. When you ask to answer your question, I'm sorry, but I'm
no,
very like, because imagine you're doing this and you don't know you're not talking to anyone about it. You're not really showing anyone about it. You just kind of drop it in a sense. And you're like, all right, this is what I'm doing now, guys. It's it was an excuse to learn a lot though, because all I did was read books and study musicians and stuff like that. So I guess it worked out.
yeah, and it really shows that you've put the work in. The
Well,
thing,
thank you.
yeah, you're great at what you do. So Isaiah has got some good questions for you. Isaiah,
Yes.
yes,
All right.
hit him with a
So,
couple.
as an artist, obviously you grow up listening to music. So, who would be your dream collaboration with?
Team collaborations. Um, I would love to do a record with Harry Styles. I was just thinking about that the other day. I feel like it'd be
Really?
a good. Yeah, I feel like it'd be a good conversation between the two of us. You know.
You know, I can actually kind of see the similarity between your music with him
Yeah, it
in
wouldn't.
some
It'd
of
be
the
a,
songs.
yeah. It would just be it'd be a fun time. Stevie Nicks too. I love the because she writes a lot, so I'd love to write with her at some point. But you know, if the timing allows it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But
and if you got there, that's the
yeah,
big dream.
yeah. It's but it like I said, it changes the same with my influences and stuff. It just changes in my head because I jump around a lot. I'm not very stagnant.
Mhm.
But that's a good question. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, sticking with the concept of dreams, right? You're a performer, so you love to be in an audience, I'm assuming. You have
Yeah.
like a dream venue where you could just
Yeah.
always wanted to be performing at.
Either the Forum in Los Angeles or Red Rocks as well. If you ever seen the Red Rocks venue, it's just in the middle of a canyon.
What is it about those places?
The Forum just has a lot of history to it because it's been around for so long. So you see, I mean, half these people's live albums are at the Forum. Actually, scratch that. I completely forgot. The Apollo Theater is my dream venue.
Mm.
Oh, Theater.
Like I said, I forget, and then I remember, and I'm like, oh yeah, definitely tops it. Yeah, Apollo Theater in New York for sure, just because of the history behind it.
That's cool. The Apollo has always been just like an iconic, I think, venue for
I went.
millions of people. Yeah.
James
I
Brown
wouldn't.
did a live
You
album
know,
then. It was fantastic.
yes, he did. Good point. Yeah, he did. That's half the reason why I wanted to do it. So I was like, oh, well, now I see that.
All right. So if you could open for any artist out there, past or present, doesn't matter, alive, dead, who would it be?
I would love to open for, like I said, I love to open for Harry. That'd be a fun blend. I feel like it'd be approachable enough, you know. And this band called Beach Bunny as well. I think it'd be a fun time if you heard of
Okay.
them. Yeah.
All right. So now I have to ask you,
Mhm.
honestly, probably the most hard-hitting question anyone's going to ask you. And
Uh-huh.
it's very important. And as soon as I like heard of you, it's
Uh-huh.
going to be this one question.
Mhm.
What is the strategy to growing such a iconic mustache right there?
All
That's
you radio
funny.
listeners, you can't see. It's fantastic. It's something
You
else.
guys are gonna cry, man. I got it from my father. I'm pretty sure. I have conversations with so many people about this all the time, and I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But trust out. I don't literally. I got rid of it the other day, like 2 weeks ago. I was like, let's see how this goes. I hated it not having a mustache, but and it came back in 2 weeks. So I don't know. I eat cereal in the morning and at night every night. So
Or cereal. So that's the key.
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of things that I do every day. So eating cereal for the most part.
Is
Might
it a
just
certain kind of cereal?
Yeah, that's a
my,
good point. I imagine
that's a good
like
point.
Honey
I'd
Nut
say two
Cheerios is better than Lucky Charms.
2% milk with Lucky Charms for the most part. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, it's Lucky
Lucky
Charms?
Charms?
Yeah, 100%.
It's Lucky Charms. I guess
My
that's the
favorite
luck
is milk
inside of it.
cereal, but that definitely helps too.
So can you tell me about your emotional attachment to music a little bit? Because as a musician, I'm sure you have a ton.
I definitely do. You know, it's very because when you think about it in this way, you know, I'm trying to think. Well, I didn't go out very much when I was a kid, and that kind of stagnated into not having the most friends in middle school, high school, kind of thing. So in turn, the only people that I could look up to were the musicians that I had been able to listen to, you know. And as I started evolving into being like someone that makes music, my first thought was like, okay, I hope that I could be like everybody's buddy, you know, even if I'm alone. And
Hmm.
that's my attachment to that because it's like, it's almost like you have like, if you put on a record and you close your eyes, it's like you're speaking to someone and they're not even with you physically, but you can hear what they're saying. And it's almost like they're with you in the room, like right next to you.
So
And that's how
music
I saw.
was your way to connect.
Yeah. And definitely music is obviously it's one of those things that it's an icebreaker for everybody at the same time too. So with that, you kind of, you know, you're able to, you know what I mean? Kind of interact, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's a great de-stressor, and it's
Yeah.
it's something I think is a unifier. Music, it brings people together, and that's kind of the story I'm seeing with your music. And I feel like I don't know if it's just the vibe I'm getting, but I feel like that's a lot of what you're going for, trying to
Thanks.
bring people together.
Yeah, I like to think that. I like to think that the stuff that I say is at least enough relatable for a conversation with someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, the one song "Should I Let This Go?" That's the question behind the song, and it's a
Yeah.
valid question that many people wonder all the time, and it speaks to the emotional depth of your music and what you seek to put out. So, what do you see as like the art? Like, what do you want to shoot for in your music?
What I want to watch? Pardon me. Say
What do you
again.
want to shoot for? Like,
Shoot.
what's the message you're trying to put out there?
Um. Well, the message changes, just based off of my emotions at the time, state of mind. I guess it's just the message that would the message I'm shooting for would probably be just like, because what is it that I do really? I talk to myself all the time, and all I do with the songs is that I just put it to music. So it's more like, what am I shooting for? What am I shooting for? The question is what does it make you feel? Is a better question, I'd say.
What
When
does
you
it
listen
make
to
you
that,
feel then?
what does it make you feel? I'm asking you, Ken.
Oh, you're you turned the
Yeah, what does it make
tables.
you feel?
You're
Yeah,
interviewing me.
why not?
Well,
What does it make you feel when you heard that song?
it makes me feel relaxed, and I feel like that's the music itself. The lyrics really are a confusing topic. I love them, but it's on a topic it's a question, and it's a tough question, so it makes you think about it. But I feel like the backing music there makes you at ease with that question.
Then in that case, for that song, I'm shooting for relaxing you, I guess, for just
Okay, so
something
what
going
you're
in the back.
shooting for is how the listener takes it.
Exactly. And their perception of it, the subjectivity of it, I guess. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're shooting for just impact.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah,
from
and
song to song.
that's a great point because you mentioned that growing up, that music impacted you, and you could even be doing something similar to making people want to start up their own things.
Yeah, that's a dream, I guess. Just influencing people in the right way.
Yeah, so we have a couple more funny questions because funny
Oh,
questions are
100,
great.
oh, of
So
course. An
yeah,
open book.
so what's your guilty music pleasure?
Um, let's see, guilty music pleasure. I would. There is, you can't. There's. I'm not guilty of any music. Music is music, But I'm just guilty in some concepts. I guess would be. It depends on who you're talking to. Because if you're talking to a heavy metal guy, and then if I say that I listen to George Michael 24/7, they'll be like, "Oh wow, wasn't expecting that." But obviously,
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, people kind of get surprised when I say that Stevie Nicks is like one of my biggest influences. I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah, I study Stevie Nicks' songwriting and everything. And then when you hear the music, no one really hears it, but it's there.
Definitely there.
Yeah, it's that whole. I mean, I guess Michael Jackson is like the guilty one in a sense where it's like of all famous pop stars, like of all, of course, I have to like be obsessed with the most famous of all time kind of thing, which is just like, okay,
Who isn't
Literally
though,
the king
right?
of pop.
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah, it is fair, I guess. Guilty. I don't know, man. I jump around a lot of stuff, man. I listen to a lot of Spanish music too, like bachata and salsa stuff. It's varies. I'm trying to think. I love jazz as well. I love like 40s big band pop music.
Oh, that's great. I love that too.
Glenn Miller, stuff is gas. And Duke Ellington, Charles Mingus, Um, I don't know, man. It changes. Like I said, it's all for the sake of conversation. It's just like, I don't know. I study from a lot of different things though. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. I'm just
No,
You're
no.
good. You're good.
it's hard to think, it's hard to keep my thoughts in one specific
Yeah.
realm. Good question though.
All right. So there is like a pretty controversial side. It's like East Coast versus West Coast kind
Mm.
of deal. So I'm talking for music platforms. Do you prefer Spotify or Apple Music? Because personally, for me, there's a very clear number one because I've had both. So
Hmm.
I'm curious to see what you would think.
I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you what. I have both. I use Apple Music just because it's the first one that I had, and I was like, I keep telling every day. I wake up every day. I'm like, damn, I'm gonna switch all my playlists from Apple Music to Spotify. Like I'm going to, but I never do. I'm just very lazy. But I like Spotify in the sense where it has like the social aspect of it. Like I like they 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 integrated that pretty well to making it like a social network for music, which is kind of interesting. So I only use Apple Music. I barely know how to use Spotify, which is detrimental to an extent. But
Okay,
I
so
know.
it sounds like you're on the right team. You just don't know how to play.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm there in spirit. I know it's disappointing. I said
You're the
every time
cheerleader.
it's just I'll get there eventually. Like I'm getting there. Mentally, I'm getting there. I'm almost there. Give me like a month, I think.
All right. And I have one final question for you before we wrap up. What's your favorite song of yours? I like to ask every musician that I interview that question.
Favorite song of mine. Probably the one called "Just Call Me Baby" because that was my first song I ever wrote.
Okay.
That's always going to be the favorite. The B side to "Should I Let This Go" for those who were wondering.
Besides, should I let this go?
The B side to it. The B
It's the
side to
B
that
side.
record.
Okay, I think that makes so much more sense.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I love that one too. All right, thank you, John Anthony, for sitting down with
I
us. We had a great time talking to you. I
hope I
wish
did okay.
you. What were you saying?
I hope I did okay with this. I
You did
hope
all
I did.
right. You did all right. You did okay. You'll get used to these interviews in time because you've got the music to get big. So I wish you
Of
all the best in
course.
everything and good luck. And thank
Thank
you for listening to the Morning Buzz on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. Tune back in tomorrow for a compilation show of the best of the week. See you then.